I saved 5 years of discarded dog bones and returned them to my neighbor. Occasionally, while cutting grass, I would find small chunks of bones scattered about my backyard, maybe once every other month, the kind someone would give to their dog to gnaw on. My yard is fenced in, and of all my neighbors, only one has big enough dogs for that kind of thing. So I had my suspicions about who was responsible, but I never knew for sure. It was a mild inconvenience, but I always just picked them up and tossed them inside this little storage container. Over the years, I accrued quite a collection of them. One day I came home from work in the early afternoon, and as I was pulling into my driveway, I saw something get lobbed over the shared fence with my neighbor, who I always suspected. Older guy, I think he was cutting grass. I'm guessing he didn't want to run it over with his mower, and instead of acting like a human being and disposing of it properly, he throws it in my backyard because he's a piece of shit. Now I pride myself on being a reasonable person, but I can also be a petty, vindictive little asshole under the right circumstances. I could call him out on it and he might stop, or he might do it more just to be a prick. So I decided to just return his bones, and if he wanted to have a conversation about it afterwards, we could absolutely do that. Fast forward to sundown, I go outside and proceed to throw probably 100 bone chunks over the fence over the course of a half hour. There was something deeply satisfying about it, cathartic even. A week or so later, we see each other when we're both leaving our homes. I'd only laid eyes on the guy 2 or 3 times in the 5 years I lived there night shift hours. I would characterize his facial expression as severely disgruntled. I couldn't stop smiling. He didn't say a word about it. How could he? He'd have to acknowledge what he'd been doing for years. Haven't seen a bone since. When we bought our house in 2016, my now ex-spouse and I were both smokers. The neighbors came by, were very friendly, and I was truly impressed by how subtly they worked into the conversation, that they kept all the previous owner's cigarette butts that landed in their yard for a month, then dumped them on the front steps. It took me a minute to realize it was a polite warning. Haha, yeah, they were firing a warning shot across your bow. Nice one, rolling on the floor laughing, subtle but definite, and I'll do it again. Years ago, I was playing in the backyard with my dog, and he decided his favorite toy that day was a head he'd pulled off a teddy bear. So we're goofing off and he's trying to get the head off me, and when I throw it, it's a complete misfire. The head goes over the fence into the neighbor's backyard. So I grabbed her when I saw her come home. Hey, so sorry, I accidentally tossed one of my dog's toys over the fence. She's cool, promises to throw it back over like she thought that's what I was asking for. Thanks, that's appreciated, but mainly I didn't want you to think something weird was going on when you find a severed head in your backyard. Old guy next door used to throw his fat cigar butts over the fence to our backyard. My cousin and I collected around 20 of them and put them in their mail slot. Didn't see more after that. Zuo satisfying. I just wanted to be there when he discovered them. He had to think, wait, I did this to me. I'm glad they were bones for dogs and not bones from dogs. Haha, yeah, I should have worded that differently. Story would have taken a much darker turn if they were bones of dogs. Yes, I also was hoping from the title that's what it was. Bet the dog was happy. He had like 100 bones now. The two are not mutually exclusive. Dude, same. Man, keeping it for 5 years is some level of long-term planning face with tears of joy. Initially, I was just getting them out of my way and never really thought much about it. When I realized it was a person using my backyard as a trash can, I decided it was worth collecting them for a big payoff. I love that he wasn't sure if it was that guy and held off until he knew it was him. Dominance asserted. Reminds me of another story I like to tell. I was manager of a small apartment building, 9 units, and my tenants would come to me repeatedly complaining that their trash cans were being filled by someone else. Each tenant had their own trash can in a communal shed beside the alley at the rear of the building. After a bit of sleuthing, I discovered our neighbor across the alley was filling our trash cans with his stuff, leaves, branches, and even his own household garbage. He would put a little into all 9 of our trash cans, I suppose to avoid filling one completely. Anyways, once I found out what was going on, I waited until all 9 of our trash cans were full and dumped each and every one of them into a neat pile in his garage. Problem solved. There has to be more. Wait, and then what? What did he say? What did he sew? There has to be asterisk something, asterisk u/bw bandy. My neighbor did that to my mother with snails and slugs. For years, she'd chuck any that she found over the wall into next door's garden. One morning he came over with a bucket of the damn things and just dumped them in hers. Never said a word, just appended the bucket, scraped them out, and left. He must have spent all night collecting them, but he looked like a very happy man. This is why I don't just eat the snails over the fence into the neighbors, but over the roof as well, so there in the neighbor's garden, but on the other side from my garden. I might take a leaf out, you book. My neighbor constantly fling bags of poo into my garden. I know it her. She tied bags of poo to my door before, so maybe I'll just chuck them back. Her son would have to pick them up, and I could lead to a conversation about how she keeps flinging bags of poo into my garden. Fecal warfare is a very serious matter. You're going to have to do something extra horrible to establish dominance. Like all the lost socks of the last decade tumbling out of the dryer, the universe decided it'd had enough of his shit and returned every last bone at once. Thank you very much for watching. Put likes, write comments, and wait for new videos on the channel.